This is what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said 32 years ago. Gewalt. I am ready. I am ready. I've been sent by Hashem already to redeem the Jewish people. Speaking very, very strongly, because these are the truths. I'm telling you what the Rebbe said. Obviously, the Rebbe is the absolute emes. So this is what he said. It's painful that these teachings, because you see, God makes a test. Whenever there's anything, the most greatest godly things always come with the powerful test. So what did God do? The Rebbe comes and makes the most craziest announcements. His shluchim and his people are devoted to him. Crazy. Every word of his is treasured. Every word is counted. Every word is precious and precious. But God pulls a quick one on all the Hasidim and on the entire Jewish world. Immediately after the Rebbe gives us these incredible testimony about himself and what's going on, the Rebbe has a stroke and he can't talk anymore, and he falls, so to speak, into a state of, but yet for an entire year, the Rebbe comes out on the porch and the Hasidim sing to him a song where they say, "Long live our master, our teacher, our master, our King Moshiach forever and ever." And the Rebbe, with his last bits of strength, is encouraging and encouraging and encouraging for an entire year after this. But then God has it in a way that the Rebbe had a second stroke on the very same day that he had the first stroke, calendar year, 2 years later. And then his holy soul departs his body to our eyes on the third day of Tammuz. And no one expected that. So people can come to the conclusion that, what? God forbid, mission aborted. Or people can say there is a concealment, there is a darkness, and God is testing us, and the Shluchim were tested, and Chabad Hasidim were tested. People have become so uncomfortable learning this and teaching this because they don't know how to make out of it. But when you learn it thoroughly, you see what is being said. This is the final mission. And of course, the final mission is going to be confusing. Of course, the final mission is going to have every bit of opposition against it. Moshiach is revealed, Moshiach is concealed, and he's revealed again. During the time of his concealment, it's our job to prepare ourselves and prepare the world. But let me tell you something. He's not going away. When God revealed himself to Mashiach Tzidkenu and told him that you are Mashiach, because the Rebbe is saying what he hears from Hashem, he doesn't say his own words, then that's the way. The Rebbe did not make any mistakes. I promise that the Rebbe did not make any mistakes. I feel comfortably even making an oath publicly that the Rebbe did not make any mistakes. His words are emes la'amitoy, absolute truth. So where are we standing? We're still standing. Mashiach is standing by the entrance, waiting to be greeted by the entire world. Meanwhile, events happen in the world that shake us to our core, and shake us and shake us and shake us. And those who thought that, we can kind of forget about this mission and just continue Judaism as if nothing happened, as if this didn't, and just continue the Rebbe's work, doing a lot of good things in the world and teaching and making and doing, but pretending that this information, that the work is over and that there's nothing left to do but to teach the world about Mashiach. We can pretend that never happened, and we'll continue doing all the good work. It's becoming harder and harder and harder to say that, because people are realizing that the world as it is becoming unlivable. And God is orchestrating the world and forcing us to now start thinking that Mashiach is coming. But where is Mashiach? Who is Mashiach? Where is he? Well, this picture is hanging in every taxi in Israel, on every billboard, on every signpost. The most famous Jewish rabbi's face that's everywhere, because everybody knows that this rabbi is the rabbi of all rabbis, the tzaddik of all tzaddikim. And it's across, everybody knows. In other words, let me put it in simple words. When the Rebbe is going to walk into the room, there's not going to be one person in the world who's going to say, oh, it should have been someone else. Everybody's going to say, of course it has to be the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Who else should be Moshiach? He's the one who's in charge of the entire world. He's the one who's reaching everybody. He's the one who's getting every Jew to do mitzvahs. He's the one, of course. It's just that now, because people can't get over the fact that someone who passed away is going to be resurrected, but hold it, are you crazy or something? It's one of the 13 principles of faith. If we don't believe in resurrection, then we can shut down our Judaism completely. Rambam put that as the 13th principle of faith. We believe in resurrection. So if resurrection for everybody, resurrection for Mashiach as well, if it needs resurrection. Because regarding the Rebbe spoke so many times how things can appear to be passing and not passing. The Rebbe said it about his father-in-law. And I mentioned from the Arizal how it says that Mashiach's soul, Mashiach's body gets taken up to Gan Eden after he's revealed already, but only to a smaller group. And once he's restored to this world, look it up. I'll tell you exactly where it is. In Oyer Hachama, the end of Parsha Shemois. Pirush Oyer Hachama, one of the great commentators, Rabbi Reuven Azulai, one of the great commentators on Zohar, in the end of Parsha Shemos. I think it's the last page of Parsha Shemos. It's a whole long piece discussing Mashiach being hidden from the world and then being revealed again. So I've reached a point already in my life where I am no more beating around the bush. I know it's not popular to talk like this, to say what I'm saying. A lot of people think it's heresy, shmeresy. The people who say it's heresy didn't open up a book, know nothing about redemption. Thank God I've been teaching about it for years. So I, Baruch Hashem, have the information. And we've been teaching about it. It's exactly what says is going to happen. It's just painful that people that can articulate and can speak, there's a lot of people who believe it, but sadly, the message is not being given in a thoughtful way where people can study and learn. Thank God, maybe that's the entire mission that I have in this world, is to be able to talk about this openly. I'm speaking about this openly, as crazy as it might sound to some people, but I can tell everybody that thinks it's crazy that the moment Mashiach walks through the door and you will see who it is, you won't even for a half a second say, hey, what are you doing as Mashiach? Let it be someone else. Everybody will say, of course. President of Argentina, of course. The whole world knows the Rebbe. All the leaders. The most admired Jewish leader. That's not the reason he's Mashiach, but that's just showing you that we're talking about the person that's most influential, but this is what the Rebbe said, that he's already been sent. He's standing and waiting. And he spent an entire year with the Hasidim were singing, but I guess the work, that wasn't enough. Something needs to be done. And I'll put it this way, in the end, God is going to bring the redemption, it's going to happen. It just would be nicer if the parade would be all prepared already. It would be nicer if we have a beautiful setting and all those that we've educated people and we've taught and understood. So let's go back what the Rebbe says. I'm sorry, I went off a little bit in my own little rant. But I'm going to go back to what the Rebbe says. This thing stands and is even more emphasized in Parshas Shabbos, Parshas Chayesar. This is true now, the whole time, the Rebbe says. But this Shabbos is even more emphasized because this is the Shabbos when we have the Shluchim all get together. Because what did we read on this Shabbos? We read about the Shlichus, that Avram sent Eliezer to the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka to execute that marriage, which that's the empowerment for Shlichus. So this week, we have an extra, in other words, the Rebbe says, I know I'm giving you a hard task. I know it's a task you're uncomfortable with. But you have the empowerment because Eliezer was sent by this is the week when we read about Eliezer, so who was the first Shliach. So in that sense, by reading it in the Torah, we're all being empowered with this enormous task to fulfill our Shlichus that is given to us. And specifically to fulfill which Shlichus? The completion of the Shlichus of Mashiach Tzidkenu. In addition to this, the Rebbe says it's also Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Kislev. In addition to it being Parshas Chayesar, it's also the month, the Shabbos in which we bless the month of Kislev, the third month of the Jewish, in the winter of the Jewish calendar. And in the month of Kislev is the month of redemption. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe was redeemed from jail. It's also another proof, you see, how the Rebbe sees his own family and his ancestors not as an individual sect of the Jewish people, but as the leaders of the Jewish people. Because the Rebbe refers to the month of Kislev as the month of redemption for the Jewish people. Why is it the month of redemption of the Jewish people? Because one Chabad rabbi got out of jail? Yes, because the Rebbe knows the truth. He's saying that from God's perspective and from the ultimate truth perspective, this is the redemption of the Jewish people, because the redemption of the Chabad movement, which will later lead to the redemption of all of Israel and the redemption of all of the world. So since this Shabbos we're blessing the month of redemption, so the energies of redemption are now very potent. It's the month of the giving of the Torah. Isn't that in Sivan when the Torah is given? Yes, but Kislev is the month when the innermost of Torah was given. The giving of the Torah in Sivan is the outside of the Torah, the body of the Torah. The soul of the Torah was given in the month of Kislev because Hasidus was then given its power, its license to be, which is the third month of the winter, which corresponds to the third month of the summer, Chodesh Sivan, the Chodesh of the giving of the Torah, of the revealed Torah. Now the Rebbe says something which is cryptic. I'm going to quickly go through it, and I'm going to give you my interpretation to what he's hinting to. But first, again, that's my own. I can't. Whatever I was saying till now, even though I was inserting, I think very strongly, I'm saying what it says. I hope. I don't think I have my own agenda here. But in the next piece, I'm gonna give you my own little interpretation of what I think the Rebbe is saying, because it's very cryptic. He says, and to add to this, since it's the third month of the winter, and winter in Hebrew is called Geshamim. Geshamim means rain. It really means the third month of the rain season. In Israel, it rains mainly in the winter, like in Los Angeles. So rain, he says, is also connected to Mashiach's mission. Mashiach's mission is connected to rain. Why? Because what is Mashiach? What is rain? What is rain? Rain operates by a mist rising from the ground, forming clouds, and then the clouds come and rain back down. So this dynamic of a mist going up and rising very high and then coming back down as rain is something that we see regarding Mashiach. Why? And the Rebbe says, and that's similar to the moon, because remember we said sun is emanating light from up down. The moon represents rebounding light, reflecting light from the bottom up. We discussed it in last class number 5. So Mashiach is the dynamic of the moon. He's the dynamic of earth rising up to heaven. And he brings the verse that it says in Genesis and Bereshis, that a mist goes up from the earth. And he explains that it's precisely from the earth, which is the name of 52, Ban. Remember the detached place. which represents the physical, which is the neshama in a body, which is the physical. It rises upwards. How? The coarse physicality that is called corporal body becomes physicality, and from the physical it becomes a mist, which mist is air, which becomes very thin, and it rises higher and higher and higher, higher than the spirit of Mashiach that is hovering over the water, because the mist goes even higher than the spirit of Mashiach that's spirited over the water, the spirit of God, that spirit that hovers over the water, which the sages interpret mean the spirit of Mashiach. Since it becomes the resurrection of my father-in-law, in the literal sense, a soul in a body, not only a spirit that is hovering over the water. What the world is he saying over here? Doesn't seem to make any sense what's being said over here. To me, over here, the Rebbe was alluding to and hinting to the last 30 years when the Rebbe disappears from our eyes. His physical presence disappears from our eyes. The Rebbe is saying like this: the Mashiach has a neshama, he's inside a body, a physical body. It's made up of the materials of the world. There's a certain corporality to that body. He says, but now there is a procedure. Part of the mission of Mashiach's mission is, part of his mission. Now you can say that this mission is regarding the entire world, to take the coarseness of the world, to turn from the coarseness of the world and make it physical. Physical is material, but not materialistic. In other words, the physical can be very materialistic and dark, or it can be refined, and then it's called physical. So part of Mashiach's work is the elevation of the corporal world to the material, from the material to the physical. From the physical, it becomes a very, very fine substance that rises upward. Does that mean the world is going to disappear? It's going to become spirit? But what I think he's referring to is Mashiach himself. The body of Mashiach, of the Rebbe, that seems to be put in the ground and so on and so forth. But as I mentioned earlier, it says in Sfarim that Mashiach gets taken up to Gan Eden with his body. So that means that what? Similar to Elijah the prophet, that his body becomes a spirit. So the Rebbe is saying the coarseness of the body becomes physical. From the physical, it becomes a mist. And as it rises above my father-in-law's spirit. Because the previous Rebbe is a spiritual being, because he's not in a body, but he's the dynamic of Mashiach. But it says in Genesis, the Spirit of God is hovering over the water. So it's explained that that's referring to the Spirit of Mashiach. So Mashiach's spirit is hovering over the water. But now Mashiach's body rises higher up even than the Spirit of Mashiach that's hovering over the water. But then it's resurrected and is resurrected and back a soul in the body. Back in this world, which brings down sort of the soul of my saintly father-in-law back into a neshama in a body. So again, to decipher every nuance over here is a little difficult. But to me, it sounds like we're talking about a dynamic of physicality rising to spirit, and then very, very high, and returning back together with Mashiach's neshama completely into a physical body down over here, having resurrection and having the complete redemption. Again, this is all a parenthetical thing that the Rebbe is saying over here, why this Shabbos is so powerful. And this too is part of Mashiach's mission. Maybe the Rebbe is saying this to the Hasidim because he's giving them a forewarning, which at that time, no one knew what the Rebbe is talking about. I don't think so. But giving a thing that there might be some questions. You might not understand what's going on, but know that this too is part of the mission.